Let's go to national security issues, and there was an important speech given last night by the ASIO boss, Mike Burgess. He focused on fundamentalist Islamist group Hizb ut-Tahrir. This is a group I've talked to you about for many years, a group that is listed as a terror organisation in many Muslim countries and in the UK, but not here in Australia. Have a listen to Mike Burgess.
While an entity such as Hizb ut-Tahrir is religiously motivated, its provocative behaviour, offensive rhetoric and insidious strategy are very similar to the tactics of the National Socialist Network. The organisation's condemnation of Israel and Jews attracts media attention and aids recruitment, but it deliberately stops short of promoting onshore acts of violence or acts of politically motivated violence. Hizb ut-Tahrir wants to test and stretch the boundaries of legality without breaking them. As with neo-Nazis, this does not make their behaviour acceptable. I fear its anti-Israel rhetoric is fuelling and normalising wider anti-Semitic narratives.
Let's go to Peter Jennings now, Director of Strategic Analysis Australia, joining us live from Canberra. Good to talk to you again, Peter. We've spoken before about Hizb ut-Tahrir, their impact on Australia, the way they've helped inflame anti-Semitic attitudes and actions in this country. When ASIO say they're going right up to the threshold of the law and then stepping back for fear of being listed, doesn't that just underscore the need to do something legislative or some way to actually list them, to actually ban them?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, our government likes to say that it's in step with like-minded democracies on issues to do with Israel and the Middle East, and it should be in step with those democracies when it comes to banning Hizb ut-Tahrir. It's not just that they'll test the law, it's that they may occasionally go beyond it. And it's very clear from Mike Burgess's speech that what they're doing is they're radicalising and exposing their ideology to a much larger group of people, which have been the sort of fringes of the protest movement over the last couple of years, and that's a danger. So yes, our government should be taking it at least as seriously as the Director General of ASIO, and I think it's all credit to Mike Burgess that he's prepared to raise these issues publicly in a way that the government won't.
Yeah, just to clarify that, what you're saying is that Hizb ut-Tahrir, while they're not engaged in actions that are illegal at the moment, the radicalisation that they encourage through their messaging can, of course, lead to others to take drastic action.
Yes, and this is something I've been writing about for as long as the protest movements have been happening. That is the danger, Chris, is that it brings in a much wider group, exposes them to this ideology and sort of presses for greater toleration of an extremist set of views. I thought it was very interesting that Mike Burgess in his speech referred to last summer as the summer of anti-Semitism, which I thought was an excellent phrase. And of course, during all of that summer, our government was doing its level best to play it down. But Burgess shines a light on the risk of exposing a larger group of Australians to extremist ideology. And I think that's something that has to give rise to greater concerns about security in Australia.
Yeah, look, I've got to say, some of us have been talking about the scourge of anti-Semitism since November the 8th, 2023. And you have been a strong voice on this, Peter. We on this program have drawn attention to it, and as you say, it's been frustrating. The government has been so passive on this. So that's why Mike Burgess's comments last night were so important, as you say, as the ASIO chief, to really push the public debate and the government along on this is important. The other startling bit of news that came from him related to the possibility for political assassination in this country carried out by foreign nations. We now know, of course, that Iran has been fingered for the synagogue fire attack in Melbourne and some other anti-Semitic acts. What are the other countries? Just before I come to you on that, let's have a look at what Mike Burgess had to say.
ASIO assesses there is a realistic possibility a foreign government will attempt to assassinate a perceived dissident in Australia. This threat is real. We believe there are at least 3 nations willing and capable of conducting lethal targeting here. It's entirely possible the regimes would try to hide their involvement by hiring criminal cutouts, as Iran did when directing its arson attacks.
Deeply worrying stuff, Peter. Obviously, Iran in the frame. Who would the other countries be?
I think Russia would have to be one because we've seen Russia carry out assassinations on political regime opponents in other countries. And then there's potentially a group of also countries that should be regarded as suspects. China, that's an interesting one to speculate on, Chris. The Chinese Communist Party won't hesitate to disappear people inside their own country who are regime opponents. I think they're a little bit more careful about doing it overseas, but maybe they have in some developed countries. And then there are other authoritarian regimes which I think are very focused on diaspora populations, of which we have large numbers of different diasporas in Australia, who may well be prepared to bring that type of violence to Australia and who we see doing that in other countries. So, you know, perhaps the surprising thing is not so much that it's just 3 countries, but note that Mike Burgess said at least 3. And in fact, I think the number might be somewhat greater than that.
Disturbing stuff, but great to have it brought into the public debate. Thanks so much for joining us, Peter.